Many of us know that having the CFA letters can be very beneficial for your career, but some CFA charter holders stand out amongst the rest. These are the 7 most famous of them, and this is a pretty interesting list. We have a diverse group, we have a politician, some hedge fund manager, and I would imagine most of you are going to be very familiar with number 1 on our list. Starting it off at number 7, we have a managing partner at Goldman Sachs, Abby Cohen. Abby's a partner, but also the senior US investment strategist at the world's most prestigious bank. Also notably, she leads the firm's Global Markets Institute, which I'll admit before the making of this video, I didn't know anything about. She's the daughter of Polish immigrants. She graduated with 2 degrees from Cornell in economics and computer science. You always know you're dealing with a really smart person when they studied computer science in college. She spent the first handful of years of her career working at the Federal Reserve, so definitely a position where you get exposure to a lot of influence. Then she was a fund manager at T. Rowe Price. She became very notable throughout the 1990s for accurately predicting the huge bull market run, especially in the tech sector that we saw here in the United States. So she was named to Forbes' list of most powerful women in America in 2001 after the strong investment performance. Number 6 on our list is Tate Reeves, and you probably don't recognize that name unless you're from the South here in the United States. Tate Reeves is the 65th governor of the state of Mississippi, making him the first CFA charter holder to become either a state representative or governor. He was Mississippi's treasurer from 2004 to 2012, and then was an associate governor from 2012 until more recently when he was elected in 2020. Notably, he was the youngest state treasurer out of every state in the history of the United States of America when he was 29 years old. And I hear that Tate Reeves is a fairly active member of the CFA Society in Mississippi. I don't know if there are that many great finance jobs in Mississippi, but there must be some. Or maybe there actually aren't any, which was why Tate Reeves became the governor. Who knows? Any charter holders from Mississippi, let me know in the comments down below. Number 5 is Howard Marks, and he's probably the 2nd richest CFA charter holder that's going to be on our list. Howard Marks is one of the co-founders of the world's biggest distressed securities investment companies called Oaktree Capital. Forbes estimated his net worth at $2.5 billion, so yeah, this guy's up there. Marks has become even more famous running Oaktree Capital because he posts a regular public memo on the Oaktree Capital website that millions of people read. In the posts, he talks about the economy and investment strategies. He's really opinionated, and it's an interesting look. Some sources report that his funds have averaged an annual return of about 19%, which is definitely better than the rest of the market. No wonder this guy's a multi-billionaire. Number 4 on our list is a notable author for the New York Times, Kevin Freeman. He's a world leader in research on economic freedom and financial terrorism. He earned his CFA charter in 1997, and he began his investing career as a financial analyst before starting his own investing newsletter. In the mid-1990s, he helped create the Templeton Private Client Group, where he and a small team managed about $2.5 billion. Nowadays, Freeman often consults for the United States government, including senators, members of Congress, the SEC, FBI, and CIA. Number 3 on our list is Ranji Nagaswami. She was the chief investment advisor to Mayor Bloomberg in New York City and wrote the city's investment policy statement for its $120 billion pension fund. She's worked in asset management at UBS, now is a senior advisor to the PE firm Corsair Capital. In 2015, Ranji was named as one of India's most successful businesswomen of the decade. Okay, these last 2 are probably both names that you've heard of before, but for very different reasons. Number 2 is Bill Gross, and you may know him as the Bond King. Gross managed one of the world's biggest mutual funds in PIMCO Total Return. He co-founded PIMCO when it was starting up, and eventually it was called one of the nation's most prominent bond investors by the New York Times. The fund that Gross started and ran for many, many years is close to $300 billion in AUM now. While working at PIMCO, Bill Gross managed, at that time, more money than anyone else in the world. He also advised the U.S. Department of Treasury on the role that subprime mortgage bonds had on our 2008-2009 financial crisis. In 2010, Morningstar named Bill Gross the fund manager of the decade, and it was said that no other person ever made more money for mutual fund investors than he did. Number 1, the single most famous CFA charter holder in the world right now is none other than Michael Few understand this, Gaia. And there's a specific reason for Michael's place on this list. But first, the background. Michael now is a portfolio manager at Taroso Investment Advisors, where he manages a mutual fund and a couple of ETFs. He's the author and co-author of 5 award-winning market research papers, which examine anomalies in stock market returns relative to various commodity prices. Michael was an active contributor to MarketWatch. He's been interviewed multiple times on CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, where he often discusses a unique approach to investing in market movements. Now, to be honest, Michael Gaia doesn't manage nearly as much money as some of the other famous CFA charter holders on this list. But what he has is a voice that reaches to what is right now about 700,000 followers on Twitter. If you've ever spent more than a few minutes scrolling any financial news or thoughts on Twitter, you almost have certainly seen a tweet from Michael. He famously for a long time had a profile picture with one lumber eye and one gold eye, making fun of all of the Bitcoin connoisseurs who had 2 laser eyes in their Twitter profile pictures. I won't be able to effectively convey the attitude and charisma that Michael carries on his Twitter profile and in real life as well. I've met him once in real life, and he's the same guy in person that he is online. So you're just gonna have to check out Michael's stuff on Twitter and on his YouTube channel, which I know he started more recently, but I think already has more subscribers than I do. But seriously, he's done something that very few investment professionals have ever done, and maybe a grand total of 0 other CFA charter holders have ever done, which is to amass a gigantic social media following online. Many people believe that one of the next major business cycles will be through the creator economy. And if that's true at all, Michael will certainly see tons of flows into his funds at the point in which about 1 million Twitter followers really start to dictate where the money moves. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. Please like and subscribe. If you haven't already, I just wanted to get the ask out there to plant the seed in your mind. If you weren't thinking about subscribing already, maybe you are now, and go ahead and do it. I'll give you another second. There, go ahead. Thank you. I appreciate it to all of you who just clicked. As always, have a good one.